liked it. I really did. I thought it was a tremendous experience and like an amazing game. Is it my favorite Souls game? Absolutely not. But it is it's hard to explain. It's such a well-made game. You know what I mean? Like everything looks good, it plays good, it sounds good. It's the epitome of a Dark Souls game, I think.
Oh, yeah.
You know, like this over-encompassing everything that they tried to do over the years since, what was Demon's Souls, 2008? It's like everything from that point on, this was them perfecting every idea that they ever had between the world and the stories and things like that and the combat and the ideas. So I thought it was, again, it's one of the best games I think I've ever played game-wise and development-wise. But I just don't think it was the best Souls game. I had a great experience. I loved it. I played it for like 120 hours, I think was my beat time, or 116 or something like that. But I will say, when I got towards the end, I was like, I'm done. Like I'm going to I'm getting on the horse and I'm running to where I gotta go, and I'm done. I was done running around and taking shit up and going in caves. Like I was done.
100%, like 100%. I spent like 150 hours in it, and now that I finished it, I'm like, I have absolutely no desire to come back to this anytime soon.
I know it sounds bad, like you don't want to play the game, that means you don't like it. No, it was just such a, I don't know, it dragged, and even that sounds negative. I'm not trying to sound negative, you know what I mean?
I know exactly what you mean, but because it is like the synthesis of every Souls game ever made, it sort of feels unfocused at times. There are parts when, like, you can't call it padding because the game is so, like the whole appeal of the game is that it's just enormous, right? It's just like it's so generous, and it's like it's constantly giving you that, like, finding the secret behind the waterfall feeling. Yeah. That's the whole game. And then From Software perfected this, like that feeling of like, no one else in the world has discovered this except me. Of course, millions of people know about it, hundreds of millions, but they're so good at that. But it's like but because it's so big, there is a lot of repetition to it. You do see the same boss over and over and over again. Yeah. And but by the end, it's not even that it drags. It's just like, you feel like you're kind of going through the motions a little bit.
Yeah, that's you said it much better than me. But that's like that's the point that bothered me, where I'm like, I get it's an open world, so you're gonna run into those things where it's, this is the enemy I fought before, it's a boss. I also think it had a little bit of the Dark Souls 2 syndrome, where it was like, here's a boss, here's the boss again, here's two of the same boss. Again, it didn't bother me. I thought the game was excellent. I thought it was great. It deserves all the praise that it got.
Oh yeah, it's a masterpiece.
But just a couple things that were like, I mean, this is good, but this ain't Dark Souls 1 and Bloodborne. Like, let's be serious now. Like,
I mean, any criticism at it comes across as so like nitpicky, because it is undeniably a masterpiece. It is undeniably one of the greatest games made of all time. Yes, but we're comparing it to the other greatest games of all time, so it's still competition. It just sounds so petty when I'm like, it's a masterpiece, but you know,
it's a little bit. Thing is like, I guess it's okay. It's still a masterpiece, but this could be a little bit better. No, that's kind of exactly how I felt. It was a tremendous game, amazing experience, but I think some of the stuff that I like in the Souls games it wasn't enough of that. Like I was yearning for more of a concentrated thing by the end of the game. Like absolutely. I was like, I want to play something a little more concentrated right now. Yeah. Then I was thinking about Bloodborne. I'm like, even though Bloodborne is not an open world, so to speak, like there's lockouts and things like that, but it's just the world it's so concentrated, and it just makes it incredibly rich.
It's so focused. Every moment is considered. For its length, actually, Elden Ring is incredibly bespoke. Like, most games that try the open world thing, like, it kind of feels like they got a selection of map and selected copy paste and go to, X on the map. Elden Ring very neatly avoids that. It does things to, like, I really hope it has an effect on open world games going forward, because open world games have never really been my jam. And
I like open world games. I really don't. I think it's not good. I think it's kind of. I'm like, I don't want to play this anymore.
I don't think I've ever finished like an Assassin's Creed. I think Assassin's Creed.
Never
2.
In my life. Never in my life.
I always get through to a point that I'm just like, Okay.
Yeah,
You know?
I'm good. Yeah, no, I do that. I do the same exact thing. You know, John, my good friend John, he says the same thing. He's like, they nailed open world on their first shot. Like they made one of the best open world games ever on their first try. No idea how to do it from. So I was like, yeah, we're just gonna make an open world game, and it's gonna be one of the best ones you ever played.
You know, interestingly, they're using the same engine that they've used for since time immemorial, but it's such a heavily modified. It is the same as the Sekiro engine, and it goes back to Dark Souls. It's the same thing, but they've modified it so much at this point that it's sort of barely recognizable. But at the same time, it is the same engine, which is why it does have those technical issues like the stuttering and the frame rate skips. That, like I've heard they fixed that a little bit in the recent editions, but like when I was going through it, man, there were some points like the Tree Sentinel, man, that was a complete mess for me the first time I played it. Really? I think I think we're pretty much on the same page here. It's masterpiece. I mean, but like, would I have preferred something a bit more focused? Yeah, but would it have been Elden Ring if it was more focused? No, that's sort of what it is. It is.
It would have just been like Dark Souls 4. Like, you know, it would have been a little bit more of the same. Again, I appreciate what they did. I appreciate the open world. I appreciate everything that they did to the game to make it feel like you said another title. You know, this game, Elden Ring. You know, like I thought it was done very well. But again, I think something a little bit more concentrated works better for me. You know what else? I didn't really like the lore. I thought the lore was okay.
Yeah.
I thought the lore was all right. I didn't hate it, but like Dark Souls 1 and Bloodborne, I used to drive to work and just listen to Epic Name Bro and Vati and just listen to these guys just talk about the game all day long. And I drive to work, drive home from work. I did that for like 2 or 3 days with Elden Ring, and I'm like, yeah, this is okay. I'm done.
You know what screws with me in Elden Ring? It's the names. Because it's all like
my God.
Renalia.
I'm like, Radagon, Radagoon. Yeah, I was just like, what is this?
They sound like Pokemon evolutions filtered through like Tolkien. It's like, but you know what it is? All the names start with a G, an R, and an M.
George R. Martin.
Right.
I used to say the wrong. I used to be like, was that Godwin or was that
Godfrey?
I do it all the time. Is it Rick? Is that one? John would be like, no, it's this one. Come on. I'm like, dude, it's stupid. What is this?
When you say Godric, I'm like, who? Was that?
Yeah, I'm honestly not sure who that is. It's been long enough where I'm like, which one is that?
Masterpiece, but stupid names. DLCs. What do you want to see in the DLCs for it?
DLC. So, I would love. What's the shit? I don't know. It's been so long. It's when you fight Morg, God of Blood, whatever.
He's not dead, is he? Sort of dead, but he's like in a stasis or something.
Yeah,
I know exactly who you're talking about. Yeah,
I would like to see something.
The kid in the egg.
The kid in the egg. Everything was in the egg. But you know, there's been like all these rumors and stuff where like I forgot the name of the towers. All the towers. What the hell are the name of the towers that you climb and you get the rune, the Elden rune part to the boss?
Yeah.
I don't remember. But all the towers like face some cloud in the middle of the map if you look at the map when you unlock them. So there's a lot of speculation that the cloud is actually the DLC. So that's how you would unlock the DLC. Like if you did all the towers, which means you did mostly everything in the game, and they all point to like this
the central
cloud in the middle of the map. That would be cool. I also think some stuff, and I hate to say this because every Souls game has done this, maybe something in the past would be cool, but I feel like we do that in every Souls game. We did that with Artorias. We did it with Bloodborne. I don't remember if Dark Souls 2 did any past stuff. I don't recall at all. Maybe something in the past, because there's a lot of stuff about, you know, like the wars that happen in the lands between, and, you know, like the actual night to where, you know, they killed one of the god whatevers and stole the rune to death. Like maybe doing something like that. Maybe actually fighting. What was her name? Ronnie? Ronnie is the one? See, I can't even do this right now. I don't remember. But, you know, maybe something in the past about that experience that got the game started.
I think Ronnie's the witch, isn't it?
Yeah, Ronnie's the witch, right? Yeah. That's the doll. It's a doll.
She's
the witch and a doll.
She got reincarnated as a doll. Yeah, it's
and she's a doll.
Oh yeah, bosses. I wanted to bring up bosses actually. Like, what were your thoughts on the bosses in Elden Ring?
Yeah, I thought some of them were cool and some of them were not so cool.
Melania in particular. Like, what were your thoughts on? Because this is such a divisive boss.
I was like, I told John, I'm like, this fight feels sloppy. I don't know, like there was like this element of sloppy to her boss fight. It's hard to explain.
I know exactly what you mean, because a lot of From Software fights is like, you learn the pattern, you learn what exposes them, and like you wait for your opening and you take your shot, right? Yeah. With Melania, sometimes she can go the entire fight without doing the move that leaves her open. So you're just circling her for like 20 fucking minutes. It's like, can you please give me an opening?
I think her design is awesome. I think she's such a cool character. I think the whole concept behind her is awesome. Like, I love that character to death, but I was like, this just feels ugly a little bit at times. I mean, the boss fight was cool, but the actual fighting her felt like sloppy. I don't know. I thought the Rykard fight was very visually, like the snake. I think that was visually incredible. I do wish it wasn't like one of those Souls bosses.
Gimmicky ones. Yeah, it's just like pick up the magic MacGuffin and you know how I approached that battle at first? I had no idea you had to pick up like the death spear. So I just ran up to him at first, like, what do I do with this thing? So I just walked on the lava and started hacking him with my katana. And it actually worked, because if you're right next to him on the lava, you're actually safe from all of his attacks. Oh, really? And the lava doesn't really hurt you. And yeah, that's actually like, if you combine that strategy with the death spear, you can just like kind of run up to him and gank him and just like, it looked dumb though. Like it didn't feel epic at all. Yeah.
The second part of that fight I thought was visually incredible. I remember my mouth just going like,
that's.
And I was just running around in the circle watching all this shit. I didn't even hit him. I was just running around like, what the fuck is going on?
What's happening? I know. With the skulls and like, it's just like seventh layer of hell.
I did think the Radahn fight was awesome, because it's also not like a boss. You don't go through some dungeon to fight the boss. It's this weird idea that there's this festival and you get to fight him. I was like, this is really, really, really cool.
It was super innovative. It was super innovative. And like, that moment where he just kind of disappears for a while, it's like, oh, okay.
Incredible.
Yeah. And then he just...
Incredible. Yeah, I remember when that hit me, I died. I was like, you gotta be kidding me. But it was such a tremendous feeling. I'm like, that was awesome. Like, that was
bravo.
I can't be mad at that.
I'm not even mad.
I'm not mad at that. That was incredible.
Yeah. Like the bosses for me veered between some of the best that From have ever done, and some of them just by nature of being so expansive feel a bit sloppy. Feel a bit like the what is it? The Godskin brothers. Or the
Godskin duo was a little bit like...
Yeah, it's just like, because their moves are so like not complementary. They clearly didn't really think that through. In some ways, it's the hardest From game ever made, but not in a good way. Like, in an unfocused way. You need to grind. You need to get that mimic tier. You need to get the broken shit, I feel, in order to deal with that stuff. Man, I can only imagine how hard it must be to do, like, a level 1, like, no armor, like, a naked playthrough, basically. Yeah. It must be crazy hard. Because the game is clearly designed for you to, like, power level.
That's the one thing that I'm going to go back to the game that I met you when we started talking about.
Sekiro. It's the opposite.
Yes.
It's the exact opposite. Sekiro, there's one way. There is one way to do each battle, and it's so focused and finely tuned. This is the exact opposite of that.
Yep. As soon as I beat this game, you know what I did? I turned on Sekiro. So like the next day, I'm like, I'm gonna play Sekiro, and I'm almost done with it, and I'm like, this is just such a different feeling. You know what I'm saying? It's rewarding in a different way. Hard to explain, but great game.
The strengths and weaknesses of Sekiro and Elden Ring are they're like yin and yang. Like Sekiro, it's very it's one of the more linear games in From Software's library. But because of that focus, because of that linearity, there's a focus. And like all the bosses, like there is one way to do them. There is one sword. There is one weapon. This is how you have to do it. But once you perfect it, it's like each boss fight feels like a dance. I felt exactly the same way. Once I finished Elden Ring, I'm like, man, I kind of want to go back to Sekiro now. Yeah, it sounds like we're really on like the same level with Elden Ring.
Yeah, no, absolutely, yeah. I kind of figured that was coming too. I was like, I bet you he feels the same way I do. I have a feeling. Yeah,
like we usually tend to have like similar wavelengths on these things.
We do, yeah.